All right, students. Welcome. It's Monday, April 27th, and I'm here to talk to you with this screencast about this week's assignment. I'm going to be walking through the slides to hopefully help guide you with what you're going to need to do. Basically, there's 4 steps. You're going to read through this PowerPoint and or watch the screencast. Either you're going through the PowerPoint or you're watching the screencast or both. Reflect on the possible advantages and disadvantages of an autocratic government. You're going to put your knowledge to the test by taking a Quizlet that there's a link for in this PowerPoint. And then you're going to answer some discussion post questions that I've put up for you. Do you have to take notes? Taking notes from this PowerPoint is a good idea. It's going to aid you in the Quizlet. It will also allow you to complete the table and the discussion post, as well as it'll build on the information that we're going to be working on. We're going to be learning about a number of different power structures. Autocracy is the first one, and you will be trying to apply it to real world, real life scenarios. What if I finish this super fast and get bored? I have put together an awesome extensions activity where you will start the process of looking at how does this actually apply to real life. We're going to look at the Han Dynasty. We will look at contemporary examples too in the future. So this will help you start to see how does autocracy actually look in the real world. All right, let's take a look at this. First, autocracy. So you're going to want to write down the basic definition and be familiar with it. It's the power and authority to rule are in the hands of a single individual. Sovereignty is in the hands of one, the king, queen, emperor, czar, or dictator. So autocracy can be broken down into 2 different types, okay? A monarchy that's inherited, where it's passed down through birth or family lineage, or a dictatorship, where power is usually acquired by force. Autocracy, monarchy, dictatorship. Let's look at the origins. The word autocracy comes from the Greek words autos, meaning self, and kratos, meaning power. In an autocratic government, one person or group holds all the power without the participation or sometimes even the consent of the people. So let's look at some little additional information, supplemental information to this. The leader is not chosen by the citizens. So there's no voting or campaigning. And this can look really violent and intense, like the Assyrians conquering a nearby town and forcing them under their rule. It can also be more casual, like a pharaoh dying of old age and the throne passing on to their eldest child. So just as a lot of forms of government can, power changes can be violent, and sometimes they can also be peaceful. So either way, the result is one leader is in power that the citizens did not necessarily choose, okay, or agree to. There are 2 main types of autocracies. Like in many medieval kingdoms, Spain, Ghana, England, Japan, etc., monarchy, right, where the ruler inherits the power by birthright. And then the other type, like we just talked about, is dictatorship. This is like Sparta, Assyria, or any monarchy where someone takes the throne by war or assassination. The 2 types are about how the leader gets and keeps power. That's it. Not about how they treat their people, how long they rule, or how peaceful or violent they are with other groups. You can have a cruel or very generous monarchy, just like you can have a cruel or generous dictatorship. And there's lots of examples. I'm just trying to give you some here when you look at these red arrows. But even in contemporary society, the monarch of Oman, for instance, peaceful country, been peaceful. It's next to Yemen, below Saudi Arabia on the Indian Ocean, and that monarch, he had a peaceful reign. And really, the people loved him. And when I went to Oman, everybody loved their sultan. So, it can be peaceful, it can be violent, okay, it can be cruel, it can be generous, etc. Terms autocrat and monarch are sometimes used interchangeably to refer to the sole position of power in this type of government. This is because the term monarch comes from the Greek monarchia, or absolute rule, literally ruling of one. The Greek word monarchia comes from the roots monos, alone, and archein, to rule. So you guys can kind of just see some of the roots behind when we talk about autocrat, when we talk about monarch. All right, and so many times these things can be seen interchangeably, but you know that there is a difference, right? Okay, some autocracies are theocratic. This means that the ruler has been granted power by a deity or God, right? So, example, and you'll be looking at this more if you do the extension activity this week. In ancient China, there's what's called the Mandate of Heaven. And this is the belief that Tian granted Chinese emperors, or heaven granted Chinese emperors, the right to rule based on their ability to govern well and fairly. So actually, it was mandated by heaven, mandated by God. According to this belief, heaven bestows its mandate to a just ruler, the Son of Heaven. This is important. Theocracies don't have to be autocratic. You can have an oligarchic theocracy, meaning this is a group of people that run it. Even a democratic theocracy. Okay, it's about leaders claiming the right to lead being bestowed upon them through divine or spiritual permission or blessing, and the general public agreeing with or believing in that claim, right? The divine right to rule. And we saw this throughout Europe as well as really over many societies throughout the world. There are no laws or constitution that restrain the authority of the autocrat, the leader of the autocracy, except perhaps a religious text if the civilization is a theocracy or has a very strong belief system. So they have ultimate authority. So example, medieval England. The king was seen as appointed by the Christian God and thus was pretty much only limited by things that the Christian church said he couldn't do. This was how things went for centuries until King Henry, okay, who decided to separate the monarchy from the church so he could legally divorce his wife and remarry. 5 times, actually. So this break from the influence of the Christian beliefs at the time was so significant it resulted in the formation of another branch of Christianity, leaving England split between Protestantism and Catholicism, right? So we think of the Reformation, okay? We think of, so when we think about that, that had a huge impact on the nature of autocracy in Europe, right? Some terms you may hear thrown around in a conversation about autocracy. The ruler in autocracy and monarch or other governor ruling with unlimited authority and absolute power. Okay, you know that. Monarch, you've learned that, right? It's hereditary or heredity, based on heredity. Absolutism, okay? A political concept, unlimited centralized authority and power, for example, that given to a monarch or dictator. Okay, this idea of absolute rule was kind of mentioned a little earlier. Or dictatorship, form of government in which one person possesses absolute power taken and kept by force. However, the term dictatorship didn't comes from the Latin title dictator, which in the Roman Republic designated a temporary magistrate or government officer who was granted extraordinary powers in order to deal with state crises. Okay, to be clear, let's make sure we understand the difference between things that are inherent or built-in elements of autocracy, and sometimes it works this way, sometimes it doesn't. So, totalitarianism. This is not inherently an autocratic system, but it's a system where the government strives to control every aspect of life. It can be headed by a supreme dictator, making it autocratic, but it can also have a collective leadership, such as a council or single political party. So this could be things like, you probably, when you think about a totalitarian state, if you look in the second column here, you can think about things like mass surveillance or secret police, or encouraging citizens to report on each other, it can involve violent measures, and many times there can be elements of fear, all right? And so I even put in the Hunger Games, as we all probably are aware of that, as this idea of a totalitarian government. Authoritarianism, again, this is not inherent, but these are concepts that sometimes apply to an autocracy. This is blind submission to authority. So anyone with a uniform or badge is owed unquestioning obedience. There's hierarchies are strongly enforced and relied on. Last one would be fascism, a way of organizing a society in which a government ruled by a dictator controls the lives of the people, and in which any criticism of the government is seen as treasonous and siding with them. This typically involves the use of a us versus them strategy to rally the citizens in support of the government. Typically involves mass control and manipulation of the media, propaganda, and citizens obey the government out of fanatical patriotism. Okay. So these are other concepts I want you to know about, but they don't always apply, right? Autocracy reflection. So at this point, I would like you to make a table, and you are going to look at the benefits that autocracy can have as well as the harms. Again, there are benefits, and what would those be? How would they benefit the individual, and how might they benefit the operation of society? And yeah, let's look at those. So take some time to do that. I need to move on to the last slide here, and after you've done this, you'll be ready and prepared to do your submission for this week. So you've done that table. Now you're going to go to Quizlet and take some time to try to learn and test your knowledge. You can go to the link, okay, go to this link, click it, and then start playing with the flashcard feature, practice and learn the match modes, and then test yourself. Then go to the discussion posts, and I want you to answer the following 3 things. Provide one benefit of autocracy to the individual or the operation of a society from the table that you did in the last slide. Provide one harm of autocracy to the individual or the operation of a society from your table. And then provide any feedback for me on how Quizlet went for you. Okay? All right. Have a great week. And, come to my office hours if you have any questions. Hopefully this video was helpful for you. All right, bye.